Hey everybody, how we doing today? So today we're going to be working on the Solo Skiff again, but not on the Solo Skiff, in the Solo Skiff, and that is to build a tackle assortment just for the Solo Skiff. Now I do have all my tackle that I've got it custom designed for my kayak setup, where I have basically the same style of storage. I keep all those in a laundry basket, and I transport those from my storage at home to the car, to the kayak, back to the car, back home, and that's all in good. I've got it totally refined down to the bare minimums there. However, with the Solo Skiff, what I've been doing is I go raid that, take out this, that, there, take it out, and then I find out, oh crap, my whatever I need I left in the other tackle box. And now that I'm going to be able to start fishing again on that Solo Skiff, I need to have everything there. One of the good things about the Solo Skiff is that it is a dry system, especially the insides. My kayak is a submarine. It is just continually doused with salt water on the outside and the inside. Because I have rudder lines in the back, they basically force water, inject water in there, so I always have an inch or two of water inside the kayak, so even the dry stuff that I want to keep safe in the kayak get wet as well, so that's an issue. But the biggest thing is that with the Solo Skiff and so much storage availability, especially since I added that front hatch, I can leave pretty much everything in the Solo Skiff. And since I have it on the trailer, I'm not lifting it. I've got the stand right next to the house there where I don't really have to lift it again. It just slides over and it's on there and off the trailer. I basically just have to add fishing poles in my life jacket and it's ready to go. So I figured what I'll do with the tackle is I'll just do a totally separate tackle assortment just for the Solo Skiff, leave it in there, and I don't have to worry about it. Now for the tackle, fortunately, I know a guy, all right? For those that don't know, I own AllAboutTheBait.com, KudaTube.com, LiveBaitMatters.com, and they are focused on a couple of different things. One primarily being Florida Key specific tackle, and two is stuff that I used. So for the last 15 years of fishing the Keys, I've got it narrowed down to a specific assortment. So I basically, these last 5 years that I have this company, I would just go through my tackle box, see what I use, then I would either go out and get those, or I would produce my own, custom design them, manufacture them, and slowly just keep adding them to the website and the stores, to the point now that I'm just down to one left item. But that makes it easy for us because I can just go shopping in here and get everything that I need. So basically that's what we're going to do. I'm going to be focusing on inshore flats, since that's primarily what I'm going to use the Solo Skiff for. Later on, if I do any reef or offshore blue water stuff, I've got my other stuff that I can go through as well. But for now, we're just going to look at inshore and flats. But otherwise, let's get shopping. Alright, so what I'm going to be using for the actual main containers are these plastic ammo cans. This bigger one is the primary one that I carry probably 90% of my actual tackle for my kayak. I was thinking about possibly getting another one for here, because although it's tight, I could still do this with two smaller ones side by side. But if I just go 3 smaller ones, then I could actually pull them out individually without it being affected. So I think I'm going to do that. The only other issue is that I also need to leave a little room for my battery box to go in this corner here, attach it to the cord there. Got a little bit of wiring I got to make sure, I got to protect myself of. This does have under storage because the hole is totally hollow, so I can run stuff that goes through there, but you have to watch out that it doesn't get away from you and get stuck way underneath there. So these I don't have to worry about, because sideways they don't go under, standing up they don't go anywhere, so that's kind of why I chose those. But anyways, we'll do this initially. I think I'm going to use 3 regular boxes for the tackle, battery. This side will be my dry box where I keep my keys, wallet, etc. will go here, and that fills that up. Then I'm thinking that I'll carry a smaller box that fits underneath here, and I'll probably block it off the back underneath there so it can't go back farther, and have all my safety and all my registration and all that stuff all in one spot, and that'll be there. So that, I think, is our overview plan. This, by the way, is my laundry basket with the other containers that I do. I just throw them in like that. That way when I get home, I just hose the whole thing down, and it's all one section. I just take this and carry it in. Makes it kind of easy, but I still get away with the one big, one tackle, and then a couple smaller boxes. And one of those is actually my safety one. It's got my nav lights and whistles and all that stuff. So that is my old system. All right, along with the ammo boxes, I'm also going to be using internal semi-waterproof plastic containers from the $1.25 store. I hate using Ziploc plastics. They do not work. They actually are worse because I think because of the heat, contractions of heat and cool, it will actually suck water in if they become close to water. Mine get filled with water because they just, like I said, submarine, so the water is always in the bottom there. If you have any of these plastic bags, it basically leaches into them and it just kills anything. Even my soft plastics, I don't like using those. So I've got these individual smaller plastic containers from the $1.25 store. So I'm going to use those as my organizers inside the ammo boxes. All right, let's take a look at my different sample packs and the things that I'm going to be loading up. Starting off with the 4-inch paddle tail, silver and gold. That's my original first bait I ever started out with. I've got a section of those, as well as the 3-inch 2 5/8 inch of the same. I'm actually going to go through and paint these up, add the eyes, and modify these, since I saw kits to do that. We've got the Esky shrimps and the main colors there. Those will be good. I'll probably be beefing up quantities on some of these, like the soft plastics get torn up down here. We have so many toothy critters that the first thing they see that little taily flopping and they just chomp it off and it's gone, and you're re-rigging all the time. So I'll probably double up on the original color there, more of the 4-inch. We've got the Shimano there. Those will be good enough. I might add a few more of the flukes. I like to run the flukes with the weightless hook setups, and I might get a brighter color ones like the electric chicken or the pinks, so they kind of stand out. These are real important, is that they're one of my only top water soft plastic baits, especially like my last video where it's catching those tarpon. You need something that suspends and sits up top and is very slow, or you can actually just pause it up top, because they like to think they're sneaky and wait a bit and then go up and grab it. So you can't have something dropping on bouncing on the bottom. So I like the flukes for that. These are just the 3/0 fish head jig heads. I have a full line of 4/0 2X strong, and I'll probably add one of each of those from quarter ounce. Well, they go 1/8, quarter, half, 1 ounce, and then the 2X strong. You go out there, you see some big tarpon, I want a bigger fish or anything, I want to put those bigger heavier duty hooks on there, as well as using for any of the larger baits. I'll throw a couple of the bigger flukes, bigger paddle tails in there just for the sake if I see some big tarpon. I'll throw in double up. I'll probably do half a dozen of the Cuda tubes, because they get chomped off so quickly as well. Big Cudas will just swallow the whole thing. You'll get broken off because that first run you're not ready for it. Maybe you have your drag too tight and you pop the leader. The other thing is that they miss the bait, hit the head, and they'll just cut the line off and you don't even feel it. It's just gone. So a lot of that stuff happens there. Couple more of the top waters. I like throwing those. Cudas just swallow those as well. And then we should be good there on the soft plastics. I think it will be all right. Then for my live bait, natural bait kit there, I have enough weights. If I'm going to be doing any reef stuff, I'll probably load up on the 2 ounce egg sinkers there. but for fish catching I'm good. These I've got the number 12 gold hooks as well as the number 12 long shank hooks specifically for catching bait. I definitely don't like taking very many of these out there because they just get a hint of moisture and they're such thin wire that they'll just basically evaporate instantly. Got a bunch of swivels are good. These are just some of my bonefish jig head hooks that I could use for drifting baits back for like yellowtailing if I don't want to use a circle hook. And then I have my full range of circles, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7/0. I'll probably add more 7/0 because when I'm using 7s, I tend to be going for bigger fish, whether they be big tarpon or on the reef or tunas or groupers or bigger fish, bigger mangroves, where you tend to get cut off and lose more because you're using bigger baits, meaning tracks more kudas and sharks and bigger fish that can break you off and so forth. So I'll load up on those. But otherwise that should do us on this main component. So let me get those extra pieces and then I'll move on from there. Now, one other good thing about having my own tackle shop is that I have plenty of samples. So when I'm building baits, I go through a ton of trial and errors. Then we got to do production runs where I get a batch of them where I could actually go test them, make sure they're good before we do the full production. So I've got a lot of all this stuff that I organized when I did my warehouse cleanup. So I've got all the different things that I could use and pick from and not pull out of stock. So that is where I'm going to be pulling from. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and put this sample pack back on the rack for sales. Not those are from my other regular stash. And then I'm just going to pull from my back stash of used and samples and stuff rather than using this new kit. The weighted hooks, I don't really have samples of those. They're just pre-made stuff, so I'll go ahead and just use that. So let me put these away and start grabbing from the other room there. All right, so I went all through my junk piles and pulled as much stuff I needed out of there and went shopping in the warehouse here for the other stuff. So I think I've got everything I need here on the table. Kind of go through it real quick, I guess. Got floats, got to have those. These are bucktails, my standard bucktails. We had my natural live bait hooks there. I went ahead and pulled out some of the 3s, 5s, 7s just to buff that up so in case I lose more than I think. The good thing about it is that the 3s, 4s, 5s I use on my weighted circle hooks. So they produce like 15,000 at a time, so I just get like 1,000 just the hooks separately for my sample kit. So I have just the plain hooks as well, including the weights there. Bucktails, the bonefish stuff I would call it. I've got some bonefish jig heads with shrimp, bonefish bucktails alone, some extra bonefish bucktails there, the smaller ones with cut off tails for smaller profiles. I got a bunch of the Shimano flies there. A lot of these are just missing an eye or just packs I had lying around because I keep grabbing them and not taking care of them, so I just put those all together. I went and got all the 4X strongs, so 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 1 ounce, and 3/0s in 1/8 and 1/4. Then I've got the corkscrew style bait holders with the weightless. We'll cover those, and then I've got them also with the weights on them for doing the flukes. Then in the soft plastics, I've got my 4-inch flukes, Esky shrimp, 3-inch tails there. I've got the Shimano's rigged and unrigged. A lot of these rigs I have are from taking the photos for the website, and then I can't really resell them, so I just throw them in that box. So I pulled a bunch of those so they're already rigged, which will make it easier on the water. 3-inch paddle tails, half rigged, half not, same issue there. A bunch of just the old Cuda tubes. Then I've got some top water baits here, 3 of the Spook Junior style. These are were picture ones as well because I took off the treble hooks, so that'll be nice there. And then I've got one of my bigger chuggers just to play with. Then my paddle tails with the eyes, I had a bunch already made, so these are 4-inch, these are the 2 5/8. Then I've got some yellowtail jigs, just carry a few. Usually when I go out, I've got a another batch I'll have for the reef stuff, so this is just inshore. I just got a few just in case. And then the weighted circle hooks, I had the painted ones were from photos and sending out for trial packs, and then the unpainted ones are the standard ones that I use because color don't matter to the fish really when you have a natural bait on them. So that's all of our key things there. Now I just need to transfer these to these and there, so we'll do that next. Now before I start moving these loose packs into my holding pack areas, then before they go into my final main containers, a couple of strategies I'm going to implement. One is I want to keep it organized by categories, so I tend to like to keep my bonefish stuff, like all of this stuff, in one section. Keep my soft plastics, the different types, maybe all the soft plastics in one container, but still keep them separated, just so it's easier to find them when you have similar storage compartments. Then the second strategy is like this or this or this is a disaster in waiting. The reason being is, so let's say I need a hook out of here. What am I going to do? Now the second strategy deals with rust prevention. Salt water kills everything. So for example, I have my circle hooks in this little Ziploc pack. I need to get one. I'm out there fishing, lost a hook, so I open it up, bam. I got to find the right hook there, so I kind of dig through them to get the one that I need, and bam, I've got my hook. I seal it back up and throw it back in the tackle box. So what's happened just there? When I open this up, I've got my wet, salty, saltwater fingers. I stick them in there, and I don't hit one. I touch the top half of these as I'm pulling them out to try to get the one I need. The other thing I'm doing is I'm taking that moisture off my finger and I'm rubbing it off on the inside of this bag. Okay, so after I seal it up, what happens? I've just sealed in saltwater moisture in a sealed container with metal. Okay, and what's going to happen? You're going to turn this into a bunch of useless rust. It doesn't take very long. So I want to prevent that, and I'll show you my little technique for fixing that issue. All right, so in order to prevent that rust and corrosion, this is how I do it. I've got my little hook container there. I've got this blue shop style paper towels. They don't fall apart very easily. And I've got your choice of oil. This happens to be fluid film. You use WD-40. I've used cooking oil. It's just some sort of oil. So what we're gonna basically do, we take our little container there, fold the towel up so it fits inside. Ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Then we're gonna take our oil of choice and we're just gonna coat that paper towel. Doesn't have to be too much. A little goes a long way. Then we're gonna take our hooks and I'm going to just dump them in there. I'm going to take all of my hooks, because hooks are hooks, and because I can visually see this is a 7/0. This is my small yellowtail bait hook. This is a medium one. These are a 5/0 circle hook. Okay, so it's not hard to see. Okay, and then I'm going to take all the hooks. These are my little bait hooks. Those are the worst ones to try to keep alive. I'm going to dump those in there. And I'll go ahead and dump my yellowtail snapper hooks in there as well. Okay, and that's it. And then I seal them up. And I can shake them if I want to, just to get them mixed up a bit, but they're going to get mixed up anyways, okay? Or I could open them up hit them with my oil there, spray. And bam, we are totally protected. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna coat all those hooks, and even if I touch them with my saltwater hands, I drip salt water in here, salt water leaches into here, they were not affected because it's just gonna turn into a saltwater oil mix, which still won't allow rust. And all these hooks are gonna last no problem. I've been doing this for years and years, and I'd never burn out on my hooks just by doing this here. No, it's not the most organized thing. It's not the most neat looking thing, but the key thing is to keep those hooks alive so they last for a while. And this does a great job at it. Then I seal it up. I get a black marker on there and I write hooks. And boom, that's ready to go into my main storage container. All right, so I use weighted circles probably primarily as my just standard hook. So I did the same thing with those, bam. And that one's ready to go. And those are 100% protected, don't have to worry about them. Next up, I'm going to try to put all my soft plastic baits into one of these containers here, so I keep those separate. One of the things you got to be very careful about with soft plastics is that sometimes they do not go well with other types of materials. For instance, my CUDA tubes, the floats on bobbers, those hard plastic round ones with the push button top ones, those plastics don't like. Haven't had a problem with the bags or these clamshells, but definitely don't want to do it with the CUDA tubes. You basically, even soft plastic baits versus other soft plastic. I know my 8-inch curly tail grubs do not like these other soft plastics. So it's just depending on the build that they are. Those were type of a specialty a mixture that I made with those, and then I found out afterwards that they do not like these soft plastics. They'll just turn into a glob. So you got to be careful about that. But I keep them organized by type anyways. So I've got my Shimano's rigged. I got flukes, 4-inch paddles, 2 5/8-inch paddles, paddle tails. So if I can get them all to fit in this one, that'll be pretty fine with me. And I think I can. I might have to air these bags down. And that will make up, yeah, that'll be just good just for those. And then the other one, which I do have the Esky shrimp, is more of my bonefish, flats, permit, and I will put these bonefish jig heads. These I should put in a bag, but I'll do that later, no big deal. As well as my Esky shrimp in there. And should be good there. There's some more of the jig heads. The 1/8 ounce specifically, so a small bait profile. And yeah, that should do us good on that one. So that's a bulk of it right there. So those two containers. Next up, I did a container for my fish head jig heads. So there's 6 different ones, 5-pack of each. I kept them in the small Ziploc bags to keep them separated, but I still put one of the oil saturated paper towels along the bottom, because what will happen is I'll use one of them, then I'll switch out to like a bonefish jig head on that rod, so I'll have that fish head jig head just loose. So instead of losing it, I'll just hose it off with some fresh water, and then I'll drop it to the bottom of this where it's going to just be loose there, and I could just grab that one the next time, or once I get down enough that most of these are going to be out of the bag and just loosen this anyways. But that one's ready to go. And the next one I've got is for my rigged hooks. These are the corkscrew soft plastic hooks for my flukes and whatnot, but they're all in there. All right, my Cuda tubes, my topwater baits, I'm just gonna leave in the plastic bags as loose and just basically throw them in there like that. Yeah, we'll just see how it goes with those. And I got another one for my egg sinkers and swivels, since I basically use them together. So you can see them there. And that will be done with that. And we went ahead and got the fly box out. I've got the standard bucktail jigs in here, 3 different sizes. So they're there. And then the Shimano flies. I got the 3 different colors, 2 different, these are the 3mm thick foam, so they'll float on top. And this is the 2mm foam, which will start at top and then slowly drop down. So plenty of Shimanos now that I don't have to worry about it. And I think last but not least, we got our All About the Bait floats there, 3 different sizes. There's weighted, unweighted. I think these are all unweighted because I really didn't care. See the little smiley faces? Smiley faces. I think I used these to make the video of introducing them, but anyways, got the floats in there, just bagged up, ready to go. So those are done. And it's not saltwater to kill these, but I don't want soft plastics to come and buy these because it'll melt them instantly. So just something to think about. All right, so we've got everything into our primary containers. Now we've got to get them into our boxes. All right, there we go. We've got everything set up and it all fits. The only thing I didn't remember to add was liters. So I've got 20, 30, 40, no, 20, 30, 60. I need to get some 40 and then that'll be good there. I'm primarily use 20, 30, but it's good to have a little bit of heavy stuff just in case, but everything fits in there nice enough. The liters make it difficult because they fit into my bigger one with sideways, but this one takes up a lot of room, especially this wire as well, but this shuts fine, so that'll be good enough. And I'll play with it a little bit and just try to keep things organized and available and dry, but I think we're all good. I did also add my bait catching setup in this little round container. It's got some it's like 4-pound trout line for a leader. Then I've got some of the fish bites there, and then some more of the number 12 small hooks, small weights, small swivels. So that'll always be ready, because what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and put in my bait catching pole and reel and just leave that inside that skiff as well. So got room for it, we'll use it, so might as well get all the stuff for it. So there we go, all 3 ready to go. And that's going to be their home, so looking good there. Like I said, battery will go there, my personal dry box will go here, and I think in this back compartment underneath there I'll get a plastic container, sealed plastic container that I can slip underneath there, and that's where I'll keep my emergency and registration information all right there. So good to go. All right, there you go. It's all about the bait, and now I've got it on the Solo Skiff. I should have everything that I need, so I shouldn't be missing anything. We'll do a few fishing trips and I'll find out pretty quick what I'm missing, and I'll just throw those in there, no big deal. Any of that stuff you see you might need, check out AllAboutTheBait.com. Pretty much I sell it all. It's all my gear there. I think all of it is actually my own custom design stuff. Flukes are not mine, but flukes are just flukes. I have the bare bones standard ones. Probably maybe this year I might do my own line of that, but the other shrimps and paddle tails, that kind of stuff, hooks and jig heads are mine, so you can check those out. But otherwise, I think we're done there, and actually I'm pretty much done with the Solo Skiff. I think there's only one kind of major thing, and then whatever small things pop up, but I am wanting to add a fish finder / GPS to that. One of the things I mentioned earlier was the reason why I bought this thing is for the ability to go out to the Outer Banks. you figure you got the backcountry islands starting from roughly Big Pine and then going out west. But to the east of that, there's kind of like open water that doesn't look like much. But there are what's called the banks out there. There's Spanish banks, bullfrog banks, bunch of different banks out there. And all it is that you have a wide expanse of flats, and then through those you have a lot of channels that run through them that you just don't see looking out there, but there actually is pretty deep trenches that run through there. And then on those flats you have areas where the flats become really flat flats, where at low tide they actually become little islands out there. And then you have where those channels open up the basins, and then they go out even farther and finally dump off into the Gulf of Mexico. So why those are important is, like I said when I first bought that Solo Skiff, it was primarily for sea trout, as well as mackerels. Because of that vicinity of being northeast of the Keys backcountry islands there, it's closest to the Everglades, and that's kind of like the main fishery where those guys are established. And then at winter, when we get the cold water, cold air conditions, they push down to the Keys to warmer water, and we get to see them for a month or two. Key West, I got to see them for 2 weeks, but they come filling in those basins and channels. So the closer you get to the Everglades, the bigger the population of those fish are, and makes it a little bit of fun fishery. But because of the distance and because of how early the sun sets, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, I have such a tight window to make it that distance, because I'm limited to my fishing times in the evenings, that it's really not possible. But with the Solo Skiff being a bit faster, I can get out there, hit it, and make my way back. Having a fish finder, I can get to those specific channels without having to waste time wandering around and so forth. So that I probably will be looking to do. Not so much getting out to maybe a little bit of reef stuff, but most definitely probably not blue water stuff. Plus, I do want to upgrade my existing system. I have an old Lawrence Hook 5, one of the original Hook 5s, and it's having problems reading bottoms. Once you get out past like 200, 300 feet, then it can't pick it up, and I don't have any readings there. I still get the GPS, which is good enough, but it would be able to be good to see the bottom contours. So when I'm out there prospecting, looking for fish, because I do a lot of sight fishing out there for fish and bait on the top water, birds and that things, it's good to know what depth, where I am in regards to the rubble out there, any wrecks and so forth. So I kind of want to update the system, and what I would do is basically get a full kit with the head unit, the transducer, get that set up like on one of the Kayak or the Solo Skiff, and then buy another mount and transducer for the other one. So all I have to do is just move the battery and the head unit to the other one, and I could use it in between the two. So that'll be coming up eventually. That sea trout mackerel season is wintertime, cold weather, so we're just spring summer now, so it's going to be a while. So again, no big rush. I would like to have it to go to the actual backcountry small channels that intertwine through the flats. I did that a few trips last summer. You catch like the really big mangroves, lane snappers, groupers, still catch some mackerels back there. But it's pretty interesting, but it's hard to find by eye. The way I was doing it is I'd run into them, and then I'd look back, find an island as a landmark, use my thumb to figure out the distance I am by the width of the island versus my thumb, or line up an island past that island and what angle ends, so I'm right off the left hand side of the main island. There's a small island. When as soon as they're touching, then I'm on that axis. Then I use my thumbs to figure out the distance, and that's the way I'd find those channels versus having a mapping and a GPS and just being able to get right out there. So it wouldn't be hurt to have it as soon as possible, but I'll wait for a deal, and that'll probably be the last big thing I need to do on the Solo Skiff. But other than that, I'm ready to move on. I actually skipped a pretty big rollout that I need to get going on pretty quickly here, that I bypassed because I picked up that Solo Skiff on a kind of a whim. So I kind of am pushing to get this Solo Skiff done so I can get back that in line there. So you'll be seeing that coming up probably next. And it is kind of involved with the Solo Skiff a little bit, so they will intertwine a bit. But otherwise, that's my tackle system in a nutshell for the Solo Skiff. It's going to be a separate entity. Don't have to mess with it. Hassle factor very low when everything's already in there, so that's kind of the reason why I did it. But if you need any baits, check them out, AllAboutTheBait.com. And otherwise, thanks for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye.